Yesterday's heroes, supported by Salford Van Hire.
Denis Law was the king. Manchester was his kingdom. The bespectacled boy from Kitty Brewster's primary school became a United legend and twice in his career a City gent. Denis had a style of his own, shirt cuffs grasped, long blonde hair flowing. He was a leaping lord, a slightly built man, but eternally powerful. The quickest thinker of his time, determined, cheeky, and always a great improviser. His career was high profile, but it started in relative obscurity.
I came down from Aberdeen as a boy. I was only 15 years of age from Scotland to Huddersfield. And the reason being that the manager of Huddersfield at that particular time was a guy called Andy Beattie. And his brother did some scouting up in Aberdeen. And he spotted me playing for the school and asked me if I'd like to go down to Huddersfield. Needless to say, of course, I didn't know where Huddersfield was. It was in England somewhere. And eventually went down and had a trial for a fortnight, and they decided to take me on the ground staff. And that was the reason I came to be at Huddersfield. But football was going to be my life, and not long after that, of course, Bill Shankly came as assistant manager to Andy, and then eventually, of course, Bill Shankly took over as the manager. So I had 5 years at Huddersfield where I was very happy indeed, and my career got off to a nice wee start.
Yeah, at 16-year-old, he went to, with Sheffield United drew at Huddersfield, and the replay at Bramall Lane, Jimmy Hagan played. And Denis made an awful mess of him, to put it bluntly. A 16-year-old boy out there, and played an hour and a half, an extra time, half hour. And he really began an unbelievable display of talent. Waverley, Willie Gallagher of the Daily Record came to the game, and I saw him after the game. I knew him well, because I'd played for Scotland, you know. And I said, listen, Willie, I said, you in early, I said, you go home and you put down in the paper that you've seen somebody that'll break the all-time Scottish cap record today, and he's only 16-year-old. And he did.
The great Sir Matt Busby, who had survived the Munich air disaster in '58, became the manager of Scotland in October of that year. And unknown to me, I was walking through Huddersfield one day, about tea time, and the paper guy, an old guy called Henry, shouted over, he said, "Hey, Denis, you know what's happened?" I said, "What?" He said, "You've been capped for your country," and that was the first I knew about it. Whatever I did in football after that, I think that that was the proudest day of my life when I got my first cap for my country.
Denis Law was the proudest of Scots. Each of his 55 caps were dear to his heart. In 16 years of international football, he struck 30 times, better than a goal every 2 games. His international exploits led to an ill-fated move from Manchester City to Torino. Denis's transfer was a trailblazer.
I loved everything about Italy. The people were lovely, the food was nice, but the football at that particular time was awful. Everybody played very defensive. We played 9 players back. And I had only been there a short time that I realised that the grass is not always greener on the other side, which always sometimes appears to be. And I vowed then that I was only one thing left in my mind was to come back and play in England. Who with? Who knows? But that was my mind. If the football in Italy had been like it is today, I probably would never have come back.
Torino's loss was Manchester United's gain. Sir Matt Busby topped the bidding with £115,000. His Italian hell was behind him. Still only 22, Denis was at his peak and an integral part of Sir Matt's rebuilding after the Munich disaster. His goals took United to Wembley for their first trophy since 1957.
David Hurd kicks off. Manchester United in red shirts, Leicester City in white. The cup final has begun. Ferran spots that inside left Denis Law is well placed. Just watch how that Scottish wonder turns the pass to complete advantage. United have scored the all-important first goal. Law's on the warpath again. This time it seems incredible that City's goal can escape. Yet it does.
David Hurd wrapped the cup final up with 2 other goals, but Denis's goals in the league possibly saved them from relegation. They finished 19th. He was on the way to becoming a record-breaking scorer, but remarkably, Denis Law never wanted to be a striker.
I didn't like playing up front. I mean, I wanted to play all over the field. And he said, and I said, well, boss, I said, I don't fancy that. He said, well, we ain't got anybody to score goals, you know, and we need somebody up there. We need, you know, we've got David Hare, but he needs our help, you know. I said, oh, well, and he said, and don't you come over the halfway line. I thought, this is going to be boring, this. I mean, I quite enjoy scoring goals, but I enjoy being part and parcel of the team all over the field. And unfortunately, I had to do it. And again, I had to stay there for several years.
Kidd looking for that one. And Law! There it is by Denis Law! Well, would you believe it?
And over comes the centre trying to find it. That's Law! What a goal!
Barron to Best. Look at this for a little bit of acceleration. Oh, what a beautiful little chance to go! Off Law!
Get on his own, but that might be all that's needed. Now he's got Morgan, up comes Law! Oh, a screaming goal from Law! What a magnificent goal by Denis Law!
Denis Law was Sir Matt Busby's most expensive signing ever. The first name in 60s football's top triumvirate. Law, Charlton, Best. Bobby Charlton, the mild-mannered cannonball kid. George Best, the unpredictable wizard. Denis was somewhere in between.
You need a different blend of players in teams. You need defenders, you need attackers, you need midfield, you need fighters, you need ball control players, you need world-class players. Manchester United at that time had a bit of all that. And we had in George Best and Bobby Charlton two of the greatest players that the game has ever seen. You're right, we were all different. And that was the beauty of it. If I wasn't playing well, Bestie was playing well. If Bestie wasn't playing well, Bobby was playing well. So it was one of those situations that whichever team we played against, they had a few people to mark, and all right, they did the job one week, but they might not do against all three.
After the swinging 60s came Old Trafford's turbulent 70s, but Denis Law still led the line with that childish enthusiasm.
And now it's Birchinall streaking away, and a goal! Paris go into the lead with only 4 minutes gone. Supreme opportunism again there by Alan Birchinall. Sadler, oh, losing it to Tambling. And number 2, Bobby Tambling. A mistake by Sadler, giving Stepney no chance. And Tambling makes it 2-0. Tambling. And Hoadley doing that one slip, and Law now for Gowling. Still Gowling. Law, and a goal! 2-1. Denis Law. Willie Morgan. Between two players, and the referee has stopped it, which may have been a pity for United because they were in possession with either Crerand or Gowling to go for it, but he gave the free kick, and it's Bobby Charlton to take it. Law was saying he wants it in the air, so too does Gowling. And Law, in fact, with an overhead kick, and it's there! He didn't catch it properly, but it went in for all that. Completely deceiving John Jackson. Law, Charlton. And on the far side, Crerand. Look at that for a pass as well. What a superb pass by Charlton. Oh, not such a good one by Paddy Crerand, but in fact, Bobby Charlton made something of it. Law lifting himself again. Gowling, Best, and there it is! George Best, 3-2, and Manchester United's comeback is complete. Payne. And Best once more bursting on that scene, and played there nicely by Crerand for Best to hammer on, and Jackson, and it's there! Oh, a mistake by John Jackson, and Best has scored again. And Wall through the legs of Morgan to Taylor. Tambling. Oh, and Crerand's beaten him. Played there for Law, and number 5 by Denis Law. And that, of course, is Law's hat-trick.
The familiar raised arm salute was to be seen no more in a United shirt after 1973. Tommy Docherty arrived to change United's fortunes and let Denis go to Manchester City on a free transfer. A dozen years after his first spell at Main Road, the goals still flowed. His last goal in league football was his saddest, the only goal he ever regretted. It effectively relegated his beloved United.
Lee. Pulled across for Law! Denis has done it! And no elation there at all from Denis Law. And Denis is going to come off. Farewell to Old Trafford.
We'll not mention that.
Oh, you got to talk about it.
Can't mention it.
I mean, does it break your heart still to talk about it today?
Well, it was a fluke anyway. Robbie, you're not getting me to say anything. I'm here in Dallas enjoying myself.
But I mean, it's like that. You won't talk about it.
No.
Stop. Never have done, never will do. The bitter experience maybe triggered off thoughts of his retirement. His swan song was the 1974 World Cup finals, where he appeared in just one game, the 2-0 win over Zaire. His career had reached the heights, so he quit at the top.
I came back from the World Cup in Germany, and I could see the writing on the wall that at Manchester City I might not be in the team. And I didn't want to come back from playing in a World Cup to playing in reserve football. That's where you start your life. And I didn't want to end it in the reserve. So I just woke up one morning, didn't tell my wife or family, and just decided to go down to Main Road and say, I'm finished. That's the end of my career.
And he's had no problems filling his time. He's a keen gardener, a committed family man. He's taken life easy before kicking off a long and popular career as a TV and radio analyst. It's 20 years since he stopped playing. We've not seen the last of Denis Law.
I've been very lucky. I've been to every World Cup since I finished for media of one description or another. And that has been exciting because that has been, you know, to see the best players in the world and involved in the European competitions as well. No, I am very happy at the moment.